Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only Bodkins Show. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Bodkins Show. I am that dude, Bodkins, and we are back, baby, back better than ever. Man, it has been a while since we've done one of these solo sit-down shows. Obviously, if you guys have been following me, we've been doing the Let's Talk Sports show every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday. If you missed this Sunday morning's episode, please check it out. We had Whit from the Rec Room Sports join us. We talked a little bit of the UFC 290 last night. We talked a little bit of NBA, talked a little MLB as well, so please check that out. But tonight we have a special guest for you folks, a man who played 13 years in Major League Baseball with the likes of the Royals, the Red Sox, the Angels, the O's, and even a little bit of the Mariners. He started, he closed, and in fact, on top of it, a sad note, but we got to mention it, this guy gave up the very last home run to hammering Hank Aaron that was set the record for years to come until Barry Bonds broke the record just a few years ago. Not to give it up, not to keep him waiting any longer. Give it up for tonight's guest, former MLB baseball player, legend of a man, Dick Drago.
A legend. I'm a legend in my own mind.
Hey, you're a legend. Any man that plays 13 years in MLB, does a little saving, does a little starter. That's something that a lot of guys don't do. I mean, top of the list to me that comes to mind, a guy like John Smoltz and Kerry Wood are two of the guys that I think have kind of started and saved and were successful at both, Dick. And by God, you're one of them.
Eckersley, too.
Yeah, Dennis Eckersley's probably, that was probably the prime first person, that would, but you kind of set the tone there. Let me ask you, let's jump right into it. Baseball first love, or were you into anything else?
Well, baseball was pretty much my first love. I told somebody, everybody asked me, when did you want to be a major league player? I said, ever since I was 8 or 9. I remember just thinking that. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to work. I'm going to be a major league player. And I was following the Tigers, and Al Kaline was my idol. And I watched the Tigers when they had those good teams, 60s. And that's what I wanted to do. And for some reason, there was no hesitation of what I wanted to do even back then. It was just not everybody makes it, but I was kind of bound determined to give it the best shot. My dad gave me the best shot to do it.
Always a pitcher, or was he played other positions?
If you talk to most major league players, all of them pitched in Little League, because for the most part, the best player on the team was a pitcher and played shortstop and batted cleanup. That's what we all did. And you get separated as you grow old, get a little older, and go to the next level. But early on, I played shortstop when I didn't pitch. And I don't know, I just started playing catch, and my dad was the one that kind of steered me this way, because we went for tryouts. The first time I went for tryouts, Little League, when I was not quite 10, he was watching all the kids pitch, and he talked to the coach and said, my son wants to try out for tryouts. And he looked at me. I was scrawny. I was really skinny, really, really skinny. He says, okay, so have him go out to right field so he won't hurt himself, So so he was watching all these kids play catch and throw batting practice to one another. And he walked up to the coach. He says, hell, my son can throw better than all of them right now. And, of course, the coach looked at him like, yeah, right, it's your son. Okay, give him a shot. That was the end of it. I was on the mound from then on.
Dick, you mentioned your dad. You said he's the one that got you into baseball. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, he just followed. He was a big Tiger fan. He played ball when he was younger, but he had to quit because his parents, my grandparents, came from Italy. And he was the oldest of the 6 sons. And my grandfather got sick in his early 50s. And even before that, I think. And my dad had to quit school. He went to freshman in school, and that was it. He had to quit school and go to work to support the rest of the family because he was the oldest. But he always was a big baseball fan. And for some reason, I started watching games with him or listening. Now, I think I remember now was radio first because there weren't many games on TV back in the 50s. So, but I used to sit next to the radio and keep score with a scorebook of the Tiger games. And he took me across the street, started playing catch. There were a bunch of boys in the neighborhood. It was kind of like this neighborhood where houses across the street, there were 2 boys there, 2 boys, 2. So we all had a lot of kids to play ball with. So I got into it. And I guess if you are decent at it or better than other things, I guess you want to give it a go. So, and he used to take his time, play catch with me when he come home from work all day. And then after the first year of Little League, that coach really didn't want it anymore. So my dad took over the second year when I was 11 and coached me through till I was 15 or 16. And then he got tired of hearing people say that I was playing because my dad was the coach.
We must have been playing pretty damn good, though, because
he said, well, I think he's the best player. So he said, okay, after this, you're going to go out for senior ball 16 to 19. And, I just did the same thing there, so.
They couldn't complain no more about dad, no. being the pitcher's kid, right?
Pitcher's kid, yeah. It's funny when somebody thinks about that when you're, if you stunk up the place, it'd be different. But when you're kind of the star of the team, it's kind of stupid for them to say something like that.
You just took to pitching, fish in the water.
I don't know. I started playing catch, and I had God's gift. Throwing a baseball is not normal.
Yeah,
the arm isn't made to throw overhand like this.
Yep.
It's made to pull, lift, roll. Like bowling ball. Bowling ball, you can bowl all day, nothing. But then you get your arm up here and do that. There's a lot of things can go. And I just had a good delivery. My dad started working with me. He told me, okay, I want you to practice the rocking chair. So you know how Bob Feller used to be like that and throw. So I started watching Jim Bunning and Frank Larry pitch for the Tigers. And Bunning was kind of unorthodox. But I had a good I was short arm, but I had a good overhand, good spot on my delivery and was able to throw strikes from an early age. That was the biggest thing that most players today, even the good ones, they have trouble with throwing the strikes, early on. I don't know why, but my dad used to make me, if I made a bad throw to him, he used to make me go chase it. So
yeah, I do the same thing with my own kids. Hey, I ain't going to get it.
Okay, if you throw it over here, you go get it. Well, you learn pretty quick.
Exactly.
Your arm follows. It's funny. Your arm follows your eyes, and I even talk to kids. If your eyes, your arm, your slot will follow your eyes for whatever reason. If you keep that there and throwing downhill, you always want to try to throw downhill because that changes the eye of the hitter. If he sees every ball in the same location, but if he sees the ball up here and then down there, he's adjusting all the time. So you try to mix it up. More than trying to fool guys or strike guys out, you just try to get them off balance. That's my thought process. I never was a big strikeout hitter, but I got a lot of weak contact because I got the ball where I wanted to and I could get it in on right-handers. And I jammed a lot of guys. I got more thrill out of breaking bats than I did on strikeout.
Well, there's a lot of guys, it's not so much in today's game, but a guy I grew up watching a lot is Greg Maddux, one of my all-time favorite pitchers.
Yeah.
He never threw a lot of smoke either. I mean, he painted the corners and got weak contact, and he's headed to the in the Hall of Fame.
Glavine was almost the same way.
Yep.
Yeah. But there were a lot of guys that did that. What's his name? God, what was it? Pitched 20-some years. Well, Jim Cott. Well, some of those guys threw hard when they were younger, but
yeah,
the guy that pitched for San Diego for so many years, the left-hander, I forget, but anyhow, he pitched a long time. But you can do it if you got good control and you can get pitches where you want to when you need it. That's the biggest thing.
Was it always fastball, or what were you throwing? When did you learn to kind of throw some of that junk?
I never threw junk. I always had a good fastball, but my ball moved. For some reason, it was natural. The guys I used to, when I, in spring training, throw batting practice, they said, your ball was heavy. It was a heavy ball. It felt like when you hit it, it was like hitting like a weight. It was because it moved and kind of sank. Bob Stanley had that ball. When you play catch with Bob Stanley, man, it hurt because the ball would just heavy and hit. So I just worked on that, and I had one of those sloppy breaking balls in high school, breaking ball, but I didn't need it because I just had the good control, and guys couldn't hit good fastballs if you threw it over enough. So I was in spring training, instructional league with the Tigers after I signed. Went down to Dunedin.
The Tigers, did they sign you straight out of high school with the Tigers?
I split one year to college and then signed after my freshman year. Because I signed before the draft. That was the last year. There was no draft until 65. So I signed in the winter of 64. And they sent me down to the instructional league in Dunedin. And Johnny Sain was a pitching coach for the Tigers at the time. So he came down there to the instructional league to work with all the young kids. And he looked at me, he says, he really liked the way I went about pitching. And he says, I can teach you how to throw a slider in 2 or 3 days. So he started working on the slider, just cutting it a little bit. You can do it do it a lot more. You can roll it. You can spin it so it breaks down and away from left-handers. Throw it hard like a cutter in on lefties, or you can make it down and in out of the strike zone. You could throw it 4 different ways. That's kind of what I did with my fastball a little bit. The cross seam, 4 seam, sink it, run it in, cut it away. That's pitching to me. And I just I learned to throw that slider, and it was really the thing that got me over the hump into AA, AAA, big league ball.
Talk to me. So, like, when you got signed by the Tigers, was that like, hey, this is the team I've always wanted to play? You mentioned, like, you grew up watching them, listening to them on the radio.
Oh yeah.
Did you think like Tigers for life?
I did when I grew up 50 miles from Detroit, Toledo, 50 miles. So everybody said, I thought you'd be a Cleveland fan. I said, Detroit was right there. And some people were, just like in Toledo, there are a lot of Michigan football fans and Ohio State fans. You wouldn't think it, but some of the people in Toledo are Michigan fans because we're so close. So,
yeah.
But yeah, there were 5 or 6 teams that talked to me, came to my house, sat down in the living room. A couple of teams offered me more money. The Red Sox, in fact, offered me more. I think the Phillies. And I said, I want to play for the Tigers so bad. That's all I wanted, the Tigers. I wanted to play with the Tigers and hopefully with Al Kaline before he retired. So I took a little less money and signed with the Tigers and ended up never pitching for them.
What happened there?
I got drafted in expansion, 69. After AAA, I won 15 games in A ball, 15 games in AA ball, 15 games in AAA, back to back to back. 68, the Tigers won the World Series. The Toledo Mud Hens, our AAA affiliate, we won the AAA League Two. So both their big league team and the AAA team both won championships that year. So they had a lot of talent. And
you guys get a ring for that.
we got a AAA ring, yeah. So
Nice.
then they figured, well, we had all this talent and they didn't protect any of their young ones. And they ended up Rooker, Bill Butler, Mike Marshall, myself, John Warden, and 6 of their pitchers got drafted. 6 of their AAA pitchers got drafted.
To the Royals, right?
Royals and Seattle. Because Mike Marshall went to Seattle first. Because he played shortstop and pitched even in Double A. He was playing shortstop in Double A when I was in Double A with Montgomery. In Triple A, I don't think he played as much shortstop infield, but he had 300 in Double A and won 14 games. So he's kind of like Otami.
And we'll get to some of your thought process on today's game at the end. But so from the Royals, what did they find the Royals? That's kind of the first team you broke into the majors with. Talk to me about that experience.
Yeah, I went to a big league camp with the Tigers in '68. I was there the whole spring in Tiger Town, and I was the last player cut not to make the team.
And that team went on to win a championship.
Yeah.
How'd that feel? I mean, how's that?
I wanted to pitch. I figured I could pitch in the big leagues, but they wanted a left-hander in the bullpen, so they took Warden instead. That was the only year he pitched in the big leagues.
And you went on to pitch 13.
Yeah, in fact, he was in Kansas City with me. He got drafted too. They didn't protect him, and he got drafted by the Royals and went to their AAA team. And he blew out his arm, I think, and he never pitched well again after that.
When you get that call, talk to me about that scenario before you talk to me about the Royals. Like, how'd that happen? Like, when they sent you down, you're the last cut. Like, talk to me about that scenario. Like, what happened there?
Well, I mean, I just go into AAA and do what I can and prove them wrong. Prove that I can pitch in the big leagues. So I did. And I won, we won 15 games in AAA. And then I went to Puerto Rico for the winter ball that year. And I had pitched 180 innings in AAA. So I went down to Puerto Rico and they pitched me another 100. I threw another 100 innings in the winter.
Man.
So I almost had 300 innings in at 24 years old.
Jesus.
And my arm, I was tired. My arm was dead.
Yeah.
I didn't hurt it. But spring training, by the time winter ball was over, was in January. Spring training started in February.
Yeah.
And we had an expansion team, and we had 30 pitchers in camp. They bring everybody and their brother into camp for expansion. So I didn't throw very well in the beginning of spring. I threw an inter-squad game, and I gave up like 10 runs in less than an inning. And I didn't think I was going to make it. I really didn't think I was going to make it. I didn't pitch well again. And then I pitched a couple of times decent, but came around. I didn't think I was going to. In fact, on top of it, my wife was pregnant at the same time, too. And so I didn't think I was going to make it. And the last day of spring training, whether it was just based on my minor league credentials, but they took me up north as the last pitcher.
The Royals did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you almost the last cut twice then 2 years.
Almost. And I went to the bullpen, and I didn't pitch much, which was good because I was able to get 2 or 3 weeks of I only pitched like in 2 or 3 games in the first 3 weeks. So my arm got a chance to rest and bounce back. And then I came in relief in Minnesota and I pitched 2 innings and I struck out 4 or 5. So, and I felt like my arm was back. So we had some double headers coming. Back then you played more double headers than now.
Yeah.
We were going out to California to face the Angels, and Joe Gordon comes up to me and says, "You're starting the second game of the doubleheader in California." Okay. So this has been a month. This is May 5th. It was a month into the season. And I went out there and beat the Angels 3-2 with a complete game, my first start in the big leagues.
Hey.
And it was the first Royals complete game ever in history.
History, right? So you own that. That's history.
And that was a month into the season. Nobody had a complete game. I came out of the bullpen and pitched a complete game my first game. So now they go to Gordon and says, okay, now he was a spot starter. He just pitched a complete game. Now what? Is he going to get another start? Well, we'll see. 5 days, I think it was 6 days, a little long. 6 days later, we were going to Baltimore to pitch the Orioles. And I beat them 4-2 with a complete game. And this is the Orioles of '69. You're talking about Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, Palmer, Cuellar, Davey Johnson. I mean, they had one of the best Boog Powell. We lost the next 23 in a row to them. I beat them the first game ever, and we lost 23 straight. So they were pretty good.
Yeah.
And so I ended up staying in the starting rotation for 5 years after that.
You enjoy your time in Kansas City.
I really liked it. I didn't know if I was going to like it because I didn't know anything about it. When I got drafted down in Puerto Rico, I said to my wife, I said, Kansas City, where in the hell? Isn't that where this corn grows and all this stuff? But it's a beautiful hilly city, a lot of fountains, beautiful town. I love it.
Yeah, I live 4 hours away from there. I live in Missouri, so yeah.
So we rented out in Overland Park. That was kind of the new area of the town. We were downtown, the ballpark. So either guys went to Blue Springs or in Overland Park. So we all out there, about 12 of us, rented in the same apartment complex, and that was fun. We had a lot of parties. So, we were a young team, weren't going anywhere, but so we had a party. So I started out there for 2 years, then we ended up buying a home in 1971 in Overland Park, a home that was 6 months old on a cul-de-sac, fenced-in yard, finished basement, wet bar, fireplace, $39,000.
And then in 69, that's when you broke in, and then 71, you finished with a 2.98 ERA, and you ended up almost winning the dang AL Cy Young. So like you were continued success after a guy that was almost sent back to the minors.
Yep. I just kept plugging away, just like when I was with the Tigers. When I went to spring training, I wasn't a top prospect. They all kept talking about all these other guys because everybody else, there were so many guys 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", even back then. And I looked and I watched guys warm up. I'm going, holy mackerel. But I just kept plugging away, just did my thing, and I ended up just passing each one of them by one at a time.
What happened at the tail end of Kansas City and with the trade?
Well, Jack McKeon got the job as a manager in '73, and he was the Omaha AAA manager. So he managed a lot of all the Splittorfs and Busbys and a few guys, and we started getting a decent team. In '71, we had a decent team. I could have won, even then, I could have won over 20 games because I had 16 wins at the end of August. And I lost 3 games, 1-0, 1 2-1. I could have won 20. But yeah. We had Amos Otis, we had Freddie Patek, Pinella, Cookie Rojas, John Mayberry came. So we were decent. We finished in second place the third year. So anyhow, McKeon got the job as manager, and for some reason he didn't like Lou Piniella and I, because Lou and I were the original 2 stars from the Royals when we got
Lou Piniella out of all people. Man, he's been around the game of baseball.
Oh yeah, him and I are close. He's from Tampa.
Yep.
So we know each other. I mean, my wife is from Tampa, my ex. So we got to know each other all winter, and we lived right across the hall from each other in Kansas City. He used to come over and talk baseball. We used to talk hitting and pitching all the time. But so he didn't like that we were veterans, and he wanted control. So after the first year, I had 3 games I was opening day starter. So 73, I figured, okay, because in 72 I had an ERA of 2.8, 2.9.
Yeah, fifth in
I was
the
12-17 with the same ERA because I just things didn't go right. But
Yep.
so he didn't give me opening day start with a new stadium, which really pissed me off because this is a new stadium. I deserved it, but he gave it to Splittorf because he was his buddy. So, and Splittorf ended up being good, but so he didn't like Lou and I. So at the end of '73, he traded Lou to the Yankees and traded me to the Red Sox. And at the time, I said, "Man, I'm going to the big leagues now." Because
you're at the Red Sox, right? Yeah.
With Yaz and Rico and Tiant and we had some pretty Fisk and Lynn and Evans and Rice and Burleson. We had Cecil Cooper.
Yeah.
Team.
Teams that would make runs in the playoffs and things like that.
There weren't much of a playoffs then. There weren't any playoffs.
I mean, to the pennant, to get to the pennant. Yeah.
We didn't have divisions. In fact, like I said, that one year we won 99 games and had to have a 1-game playoff with the Yankees. So when I went over there, they didn't know for sure what they were going to do because they had a load of pitchers. And they knew I'd done some relief. My arm was kind of durable. And they said, well, maybe we can put you in the bullpen for now. Excuse me 1 minute. I want to turn something. It's getting a little warm. I'll be right back.
You're good.
Not used to sitting under this hot light.
Hey, you're all right, Dick.
So they put me in the bullpen, and I ended up starting 18 games and relieving 17 or 18 because Rick Wise got hurt, Marshall got hurt. I'd come to the ballpark, and they got hurt, so the ball would be in my locker. I didn't even know I was pitching until I walked in.
How do you prepare for that though?
Because I started before. I just
say I just got to do my best stuff.
I've done it before. I pitched in relief, and I got I was prepared because it happened after the first time. You don't know, but so I told Daryl Johnson, the manager in spring training '75. I said, I pitched 180 innings in '74, and I felt like I pitched 300 because I warmed up so many times, didn't get in the game. Then I'd pitch in relief, and then 3 days later start a game, and it wore me out.
What's that do for you mentally? Because I feel like mentally that's going to be tiring too.
Okay, these guys need all kinds of help today. It's like they need someone to tell them when to go to the bathroom, I think. So anyhow, the next year he says, well, I think you may help us out as the closer. Well, I stayed a few games in '74, but not that many. So that's what happened. I ended up being the closer in '75 and going to the World Series. My first year ever.
As a closer. I just want to back up a little bit, Dick, for a second. So when the ball would be in the locker room, that's when you're like, hey, I guess I'm taking the ball today. How did you prepare for the lineup that day, not knowing you were going to be the starter? How does that?
We got there at 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay, for an 8 o'clock game.
7:30.
Okay.
So we go over the hitters with the catcher. Man,
catcher knows everything. Yeah, I mean
I know. I mean, I knew guys. I pitched for 6 years. I think I know most of them.
Yeah.
If somebody that hadn't I pitched against or something, but it's all gets down to you and him.
Different when you're coming into a closer or starter. Is there a different mindset you have?
Well, a starter, you got to gear yourself up to go. Well, not today, but you have to gear yourself to go 6-7 innings. So you stretch your arm out all the time during spring training, and you have You have to have more than 1 or 2 pitches, to start. So. I had different fastballs. They were all fast, but they different ones, sliders. I changed speed. When I got to the bullpen and started closing, it's just natural because you're only going to pitch an inning or 2. Well, back then we had 3-inning saves a lot of times.
Yeah.
Gossage, myself, Fingers. You'd have to come in and pitch 7th, 8th, and 9th to get a save. But I have added about 4 miles an hour to my fastball for whatever. I just started throwing harder because I was only going to have to pitch an inning or two. It's just you don't have to back off a little bit and overthrow every pitch. So I started throwing harder, so I went more to the 2-pitch pitcher, a fastball, slider. That was it. And I threw a lot more fastballs than anything. I just challenge guys. If you talk to Fred Lynn or anything, they said Dick wasn't afraid of anybody. Here it is, hit it. If you get me, you get me. And that's how you got to have it as a closer.
Exactly.
You got to forget that you lost that game in the 9th because you may be out there the next night.
You got to be a goldfish, like Ted Lasso says. You just got to forget about it. Have a 5-second memory.
Yep.
And go on. Talk to me. You said when you guys went to the World Series, what was that like in that locker room? You playing for the Red Sox, obviously, but they have the long streak of not winning one.
Oh yeah, well we were just happy. Of course, happy we had beat Oakland, who had won 3 straight World Series. We went there and swept them to get into the series. So that was an accomplishment itself. And I had 2 saves in the playoffs. But then we played Cincinnati, and they didn't give us a chance. They said, Cincinnati, the big red machine. And we had Rice hurt. Rice got hurt. So I think, it's hindsight, but I think if we would have had Rice, we might have won that series. I mean, he was MVP, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Well, him and Freddie were both equal.
Yeah.
So
the big red machine. To lose to the Reds at that time, you're talking Johnny Bench, Pete Rose.
Oh yeah, Perez,
yeah,
Morgan. But we didn't think. We thought we could beat them. We had a good enough team, and we could have. We had them to 7. We had them beat in Game 7, 3-0. We were leading in that game. And the Armbrister interference call that wasn't made, I think that will cost us the game too. But they're a good team. But we were right there. We played with them. Anybody. I think 5 games were decided by 1 run.
What's going on in your mind? You guys are up Game 7, 3-0. Are you just thinking like, hey, they get me this ball, I'm going to close this damn thing out?
Well, I'll be out there. Bill Lee had pitched 6 innings, a shutout ball. And then Bill became Bill and decided to throw his deepest pitch to Perez, with a 3-0 lead instead of just going after him. He'd thrown it early in the game to him. So he threw it again and he hit it over the monster to make it 3-2. I think that was the turning point of the game. So, I never pitched. I never came in Game 7, which I wasn't very happy about. That Jim Burton came in and pitched the 9th, the rookie, instead of me. But, hey, you just do what you're told.
Were you thinking when you guys were up 3-0 that you were going to go in? Like, hey, I can go get us. I can close this.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever even be in a game, at that point. Bill could have went the whole game. Back then, guys went complete games.
Yeah.
Dion completed 2 of the 3 games he started. So he threw 165 pitches in Cincinnati Game 5, I think. Game 4.
After that, you talked a little bit earlier, and I meant to ask you. You talked about playing that Winter League, and then going down to Puerto Rico and playing. Was that the last time you pitched that much, or were you like, "Hey, I'm going to take the ease off in the winter times," or were you constantly doing that throughout your whole career?
No, I didn't pitch any more winter ball. I had pitched 250 innings in Kansas City every year, so
no need to pitch winter ball after that.
You had to go to work and get a job, and make money.
Yeah, you were working in the off season.
Oh, yeah.
Doing what?
I realized, my real estate license, I learned something. I forget. That's why the only reason we went to Puerto Rico is because we got paid for 2 months. Because we didn't make much money back then. And once I got to the big leagues, but my first year in the big leagues was $7,500. That was the minimum wage. You can't live on that all year. 2 months. And then I got a raise and get to $10,000. Then $12,500 my 3rd year. And after winning 17 games, I got all the way to $20,000.
What were you making when you guys made the World Series?
When I went to Boston, they almost doubled my salary.
So you're looking at 40,000.
Yeah. And then I got to 75, and then I signed a 3-year contract in 78 for 150 a year
with the Red Sox.
Yep. That was the first free agent I got my chance to have a multiple year contract.
And you wanted to stay? Why stay there in Boston?
Well, I like it. Well, where else can you have 35,000 every night?
It's true that Fenway's a special place.
Everybody being into the Bruins, Patriots, the Celtics, you can't beat it. What a sports town!
You still live in Boston?
I'm in Tampa.
Oh, Tampa. Okay.
I go up to Boston every summer for this year. I haven't gone yet. I have to have surgery on Tuesday.
For what?
I have a polyp in my colon. They want to make sure. So I've been fighting this for a few weeks, and it's been kind of feeling crappy, but.
Well, we hope the best for you. We hope the best for you, Dick, and you'll pull through.
Tuesday morning, because I usually go up to Rhode Island, Providence. I have a good friend, and for 4 months, from end of June till November. But this year I got to wait until see how this all comes out.
So you after the 75, you left Boston, and then there was like a brief.
I got traded, again.
And then traded, and then after that is when you signed back with Boston.
Right. Free agent.
So you didn't. How was it? You went to the Angels and Orioles. How was that when you got traded there?
The Angels were a last place team. They sucked. They weren't very good at all. And I just came from a World Series team to be a closer on the last place team.
Got a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the second year they had Grits there. They had Bobby Bonds, Ed Herman, Bill Melton. But they just, and Tanana and Nolan Ryan, we had two good starting pitchers, but we just didn't have enough.
When you re-signed with Boston on your free agent deal, was there other teams looking at you, or were you just like, hey, I want to go back?
There were like 6 or 7 teams, yeah.
And you were set on Boston?
I was set on Boston. I've been there and I wanted to go back. Too many good people I know there.
Even after the trade?
Huh?
Even after they traded you still wanted to go?
That had nothing to do with the team. That had to do with 1 or 2 people.
Gotcha.
They were gone. The new owners came. There were new owners that year in 78. Buddy Lou and Haywood Solomon bought the team from the Yawkey. Not Yawkey, but somebody else was there. I forget who it was. Ralph Houck was the one that – no, that wasn't him. He was later. It was Darrell Johnson was the one that traded. He used me as the closer, but he didn't like me. Personality. I was kind of said what I wanted to say in the clubhouse. I didn't like if something was going. And Darryl wasn't the best manager in the world. He cost a lot of us think he cost us a 75 playoff by being so tight and blowing. We blew a 14-game lead in 74
to the Yankees,
to the Orioles.
Oh, the Orioles. Oh, that team we just talked about.
You got to be following baseball better than that.
Hey, I was born in '87. This is before my time, Dick.
That's right. You're old. Young.
Yeah, you know, young. Before my time. I'm trying to, I know.
I'm just giving you crap.
I just got a few more questions for you, Dick. I appreciate you joining me again tonight. And we'll get you out of here because I know it's getting late on the East Coast there. You talked about Johnson not being your favorite manager. Was there somebody that you loved playing for?
Well, I like playing for Bob Lemon, and I like playing for Don Zimmer.
Yeah, I know Don. I remember Don Zimmer. I'm mainly with batting coach or coaching with the assistant coach with the Yankees over the years.
Yeah, but he was the manager of the Cubs, the manager of the Red Sox, the manager of the Texas Rangers. He was a coach when I was there the first time.
Yep.
We got along very well. He's from Tampa, too. He lived down here before he passed.
And if there was one guy that you gave up the last home run to Hammer and Hank that lasted the last home run ever, that was in the history books
in July.
in July.
So who was to know?
Yeah,
That was going to be it. No, I didn't pay attention to it. It was July. Who would have think he wouldn't hit another home run? It happened. He played the rest of the year
and just never hit one.
No.
Yeah, I guess you never probably didn't think of that. It wasn't like the last game of the season.
No, we were 2 last place teams. We both were bad. And I didn't think 2 things about it. I mean, it's great. I mean, the record books will always be there, but it's not like it's a crime to give up a home run to Hank Aaron.
Oh, no, you weren't the only guy, right? So
No.
He hit off a lot of guys.
Yeah.
My question is, was there a guy that, whether you played with or you played against that you thought was real special? Like this guy, when he's on the, on the mound or at home plate, I got to be careful.
Well, I mean, as far as a good teammate?
Or just a guy that you didn't, that you struggled.
There were a lot of guys you didn't like facing. Louis Tiant was my favorite player. I mean, he just was great to be around. Yaz was great to be around. There were a lot of good guys. I mean, the guys that gave me the most trouble were Tony Oliva, Rod Carew, guys like that. They gave me Carew was Oliva was the toughest guy I ever faced, and Brett was pretty tough too. But he was later on for me. But
George Brett.
Yeah.
There's
only one.
I'm just making sure.
Brett came up the last year I was in Kansas City. He came up at the end of the year. And he hit 180. And Charlie Lau got a hold of him and changed his whole hitting style. So I pitched against him mostly as a reliever here and there. I didn't face him that many times, but I faced Oliva for many years as a starter.
What made those guys so hard? Oliva, Rod Carew, and George Brett.
Because they could hit. They put the ball in play.
It wasn't power. It was just that they could.
Yeah, Brett had power, so did Oliva, but Carew didn't. But they didn't have to. But they made contact, and they hit the ball to right field, hit the ball to left field, hit the ball at the middle. Those are guys that are the toughest to face. I got Reggie Jackson out a lot. I got Gorman Thomas out a lot. All these power hitters, I was better off facing them than I was the guy that could put the ball in play. Because I was around the plate a lot. And really a lot of good hitters, they look for certain pitches. Where a guy that just sprays, he looks to slap it here, slap it there, whatever.
And that's what they was doing, just slapping it there and there.
Well, Tony Oliva never slapped.
Yeah.
Either did Brett, but they could.
You still watch the game today?
Every game.
What team you watch?
Red Sox. Every game.
Still a Red Sox fan. You go to the games in Tampa because nobody's filling up that stadium, and they're a good team, and nobody's going.
Bad stadium. I don't know why people don't go. It's not that bad. They complain because they have to drive 20 minutes across the bridge. Where in Boston, you got to drive 3 states to get to the game. But that's their excuse.
Yeah.
But I don't go to the games that much. I don't like it that much. I'd rather sit here.
How do you feel about the game today in today's game? I mean, the rule changes. It's probably night and day from when you were playing.
It's all totally different. All totally different. Guys don't pitch as much. They're geared up to pitch so many innings. They're geared up to do this. They're geared up exit velocity. All the stuff that I would not pay attention to.
Still love it though, even though it's totally different.
Well, yeah, I played in my life. It's my life.
Hey, amen to that, brother.
20 years of my life was a professional baseball.
Still
10 more is a little league. So
yeah. So how do you feel about the Red Sox right now? I mean, they're struggling.
Who knows? They're kind of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
They'll win 5 in a row, then won't score for 5 nights.
That's my Cubs too.
But the pitching staff has come. I'm surprised because all their young pitchers have really come along, and Paxton is pitching well. Barrios pitching well. Whitlock, he got hurt, but he's pitching well. Cutter Crawford is okay. And they got another young guy, but and they got Jansen in the bullpen as a closer. So their pitching has been solid, real solid. They moved Pavetta out of the starting because he was getting rocked, and he's been coming in long relief and really pitching well. They need him now, guys like that today, because you got openers, the guys that pitch one inning.
Yep.
I don't never get that opener either. So
me neither. I don't get it.
I don't know what the purpose of it is.
Nah. Hey, just I'm a little.
Maybe they want to get a guy out of the way early.
I'm a little old school. I want my starter to go 7, 6, 7, and then you hold it to the back end, hopefully with the lead. The closer. The setup guy in the 8th and the closer.
Well, now you got setup guys. So
yeah,
that's changed too. That's why they're paying a lot of money for setup guys and closers. So that's why the starters also aren't going as far, because you're paying a guy $2 to $3 or $4 million to pitch the 8th inning. He's going to have to pitch the 8th or 7th inning.
You got a favorite guy that is playing in today's game?
I don't know. Off the top of my head,
I like Ohtani. You mentioned
Ohtani is one of the best. I'll tell you who I really like a lot is Justin Turner.
Yep.
He's been playing real well for somebody who's played that long. He's been playing real well. There's a couple of pretty good guys around, but I don't really pay. I got a lot of fantasy teams, but that's the only thing I worry about. Who's hitting in fantasy and who's pitching. No matter who.
Yeah.
Win,
Yep.
But I watch the Red Sox every day on MLB, so.
Is you have who do you, if I had to ask you who's the greatest player you ever played baseball, who would you say?
You got like Aaron or Mays or Babe would have to be in there, but modern day, I saw Frank Robinson, L.K. Line, some pretty good players played, so it's kind of hard to say one. Yeah,
I agree. I think you mentioned a couple of those guys, Aaron. I think Mickey Mantle,
Killebrew, I played against.
Yeah, Ted Williams, Mickey.
I didn't play against Ted.
Yeah, I was just naming some guys that you could qualify that may not be. I think Mickey Mantle up there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of pretty good. Brett was pretty good in his time. So was Boggs.
Yep.
He was a tough guy. Now he would be a tough guy to pitch too.
Well, hey Dick, I appreciate you joining us tonight. We'll let you get out of here. Best of luck to you on your appointment, and thank you for joining me this evening. It's been a pleasure talking baseball, life and baseball with you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you so much, and I hope the Red Sox turn around. Maybe we'll get a Cubs Red Sox World Series.
They're playing each other after the All-Star game.
Hey, we took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. First time in baseball history we go in New York and get 2 wins.
I think they're coming in to play the Cubs this next weekend.
Hey, we'll see what happens. Well, hey, thank you. Hey, thank you for joining me, Dick. I appreciate it. Do you got any last and final thoughts to get out of here before we get out of here?
Let's strike one.
Strike one.
Best pitch in baseball. Strike one.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, this has been another great episode of the Bodkins Show, folks. We'll see. I'll be back tomorrow night on the Let's Talk Sports Show, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. This has been it's been a pleasure with the legendary pitcher, Dick Drago. Thank you, Dick. I'm going to hit that outro. Be a friend. Tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. This has been another great episode of the Bodkins Show. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Later.